Hey there guys, and welcome to this freaky review where I, Kingdom Freak, am reviewing Persona 4 Golden, and I hope everybody enjoys this video. My experience with Persona 4 Golden was a pleasant one, but how will I judge this game? Without further ado, let's get straight into the review. Persona 4 Golden is a social simulator turn-based JRPG that was made in 2008. This game was a huge success back in the day and propelled the Persona series into the spotlight a bit more than it already was. I never knew about this game series until a different Persona series blew it up even further. With how I'm seeing this game, I actually don't have any nostalgia for this game since I never actually played the game originally. I would also like to mention I didn't use a guide up until the reveal of the main antagonist. If you do want to do everything in the game, it does unfortunately require a guide because of the stringent time management aspect of the game. But this game can be enjoyed without the guide anyway. Just letting you guys know beforehand before we move on to our first segment, the story. You are sent to the town of Inaba where your parents have sent you off from the city to live with your uncle. You start your new life in the countryside compared to the city where you were first off. You go on to school until weird events start happening. People are being murdered out of nowhere and you hear about a mysterious channel called the Midnight Channel, where at midnight weird images happen. Wow, really creative on the name Midnight Channel, huh? You eventually have weird things happen to you, like entering a TV and apparently even falling into the TV as well, which is really, really weird. Eventually searching the channel, you meet a weird creature that looks like a teddy bear named Teddy. Oh god, could this be even more obvious? Anyway, after this you look into the Midnight Channel to see if it could be related to the murders that are happening in town, and awaken to your persona. After figuring out an idea of how the murders are happening, you are sent to a room called the Velvet Room. God, stop with the obvious! Anyway, these people tell you that mysterious things are happening and you need to overcome them. They also tell you about personas and tell you how to use them on your journey and to also interact with people to gain strength in others, because if you don't, the future will be grim. So you do that, gaining allies, gaining stronger personas, and doing everything that you can to stop the murders from happening. The gameplay has so much to talk about. Oh, okay, here it goes. The main gameplay, where all the combat happens, is affected by your social links, so the social simulator affects the combat in some way, shape or form. This game forces you to think about how you're going to spend your time and how to maximize your time that you can use. You can spend time with people, boosting social stats, reading books, or even working at a job to earn more money. When you spend time with certain types of people, you'll go through the day and gain ranks with them or gain notes, being able to rank up with them. Some of these people can only be seen when you have enough social skills to do so. The social stats are split into 5 different traits and having 5 different levels. The different traits are courage, knowledge, diligence, understanding, and expression. Doing jobs can potentially unlock new people to hang out with. As an example, working at the hospital unlocks 2 characters. These will help you when you're inside the TV. When you're inside the TV, you spend most of your time navigating dungeons, defeating shadows. Defeating these shadows will give you money, experience, and even items. Once you gain enough experience, you gain levels which make your characters in your party stronger. These characters have strengths and weaknesses to certain types of attacks. Enemies also do have this as well. However, if a character is hit with a weakness, they are downed. If you knock down every single enemy, you'll be able to do an all-out attack, which deals a large amount of damage to all enemies. After some battles and conditions are met, a shuffle bonus will trigger. Shuffle bonus are triggered if you do an all-out attack and kill all enemies, or hit enemies enough times through their weaknesses. Sometimes this doesn't work, but these shuffle bonuses can increase money, experience, give you additional items, and also do the opposite and give your personas better stats. If you clear all the cards on the shuffleboard, you'll be able to get a clear bonus, which will allow you to have the next time have a +2 picks on top of the normal one that you would have. Personas, as I forgot to mention, are normally unique to the character. Everybody that isn't the main player character, like Yosuke and Chie and Yukiko, they all have unique personas that level up if they are in the party. But the main PC can gain levels on their own and also gain new personas, gaining them from the shuffle bonuses or visiting the Velvet Room, either spending money to buy them or fusing them. There are other aspects of the game that I didn't mention in this section, but it is actually a pretty big section already, and I would really like to get into the aesthetics of the game, because it is actually the biggest topic that we should talk about in this game. Well, the game in general is very good for a 2020 port of the game that was originally on the PS2 in 2008. I do like the design of it being simple and flashy because it does actually fit the style of the main player character. Calm and cool. The town is a bit vibrant for being a small town, but in terms of the standards today, it still struggles to stand up a bit. With the PC port coming out in 2020, it did actually come out with a couple of problems. The first problem isn't too big of a problem, but the dungeons, whilst being very cool in their own way, got really repetitive. It just was one of those things that you would go through the same level or go back through another level to try and grind, and it would just look all the same, and the random aspect of dungeons just makes it very hard to play the game through multiple times. So I would actually struggle to recommend playing this game again, but it might actually change in maybe a year or two when I haven't actually seen Persona 4 again. But unfortunately, this isn't the biggest issue, and a lot of people need to know this before they actually play this game.
Commencing the rant. Whilst these aesthetics issues can be fixed, this one needs to have a change. A lot of games have a feature to turn off motion blur. This game does not have it. It happens throughout the entire game and is very annoying. When the game puts the motion blur on, I would have understood if it stopped after a certain time in the game.
And I won't say when.
And I would have given the game a free pass on that. Unfortunately, it was a missed opportunity, but the motion blur really wasn't necessary in the game.
I am so sorry. That comes out sometimes. I hope they don't come out again. I think we can get off the visuals of the game because let's talk about the music, and my lord, there are so many of these themes that just make you want to listen to them on repeat. Mainly all of these Persona themes are very good to bring out an emotional response, whether or not it is to make you hate a character, whether or not to like a character. But some of these themes were just so cool and just so good to listen to that it was just awesome just to sit down and just watch the game play, or just play that aspect of the game. But if you did watch my gameplay of Persona 4 Golden, you will know that I actually ordered one of the songs because of the build-up from the story, and even the story aspect got enhanced because of that song. So it is actually really well done, and usually the story is the biggest aspect that the Persona series really thrives on. But the aspect that people really understand that is the best quality of Persona is the story. But second to it is actually the song and the theming from all of the games. No matter what game you're playing, whether it's the newest release, whether it's the older releases, you've got the story, and you've also got the music to boot. And even with that, we've actually going to go on to the voice acting, which it was actually done extremely well. The only thing that I wish that there was more of it. I wish that there was a little bit more, but I can understand with the limitations of the PlayStation 2 and the PSP. Unfortunately, it did hurt the game a little bit in that regard. I'm gonna let you know, I got two different endings for this game. One of the endings, we kinda drew up an early conclusion, and one of them when we found the true culprit. Now, the first thing that I need to say is that I genuinely missed this on the first playthrough that I had, and the series that I did was my first playthrough of the game. Also, there are spoilers from here on in, so if you want to skip to this time, you will see my closing thoughts on the game. Okay, you're good? Okay. When we came to the end and found out Namatame is throwing people into the TV, our group got riled up by everything that Namatame's shadow was saying from his true self in the TV. However, the main player character stayed calm and is trying to find the missing link, but everybody needs to help find the true culprit. We investigate a little bit further and get a hunch that someone was throwing people into the TV before Namatame, and they played back and chilled. So we actually confronted someone. About it, and they unfortunately slipped. They being Adachi being the culprit, came out of left field, but it made perfect sense, especially at the time, especially seeing that it was really, really subtle. Eventually we chase him down through his world and through his TV, through the original scene that we actually see at the start, and try and take him down. However, we take the god down and now Inaba's safe. Or is it? Again, this is spoiler territory. If you have not reached the secret episode, I'm going to recommend going to the conclusion of the game. The same time will be linked right now. If you want to know how to get to it, this is how you get the secret episode. You need rank 10 with Marie. That is it. You need max rank with Marie before you beat Adachi at the end, or Amano Sagiri at the end. Anyway, we get to celebrate Christmas and New Year's, and once those celebrations are over, we pass out before going onto a ski trip the next day, and stay on bed rest for a week. Well, that sucks, but Marie comes to us while we are passed out and tells us that she's leaving forever. We can't stop her, but Margaret tells us after we are about to go to school that she will search for Marie. When we go back to school, we see our friends and get to socialize with them and catch up for a bit. This happens for approximately a month when it gets rescheduled to the ski trip. We go skiing, tell ghost stories, get trapped in a blizzard with someone, and we start turning over a shack where we find a TV, which turns on weirdly. Again, the Midnight Channel. And we are forcefully pulled into the TV by someone. That someone being Margaret. And tells us that this is where Marie is. The group decides to find Marie. If it were a surprise, this is one of the coolest dungeons in the game. Not only do you have none of the items you normally have, you have none of the money, making it the coolest and scariest dungeons because you have nothing. Thankfully, none of the enemies can one-shot you here, but you can one-shot them with your personas. Well, most of them. And has some aspects that other dungeons never had, which have unique mechanics. I'm not going to spoil the experience, but it was a cool dungeon to play through. We learn along the way with Marie is one of the Sagiri, aka the gods of the TV world, and she has to perish for the fog to no longer release. But we find a way to take care of the fog and save Marie. When you finish the ski trip, you'll be at Valentine's Day, where you spend most of the day with the girls that you have romanced. However, you leave in a month's time, and you have to say your goodbyes to everybody on the last day, and remember the time you spent in Inaba. I see this game series doing this well towards the end of the Persona series, and it does a great job wrapping up the entire story for the games. But I do want to talk about this. If I were to choose the two different types of games, there are Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal. If you were to ask me to choose between the two games, I honestly would pick Persona 5, for a lot more reasons than I care to explain. However, Persona 4 Golden does have its strengths in comparison to Persona 5 Royal. First off, the reveal of the true culprit wasn't easy to spot. However, I did spot it, but the game eventually steered me away from it, and I was like, oh, I remember this person was suspicious, but didn't realize until it was being explained. In Persona 5 Royal, if you were paying attention, it was very obvious. I mean, that one scene just made it so that everybody was clued into the villain. I will say that Persona 4 Golden also does rewards better than Royal. I actually really liked the shuffle bonus system. Normally in games you only get a drop rate and it doesn't really change, except if you defeat more monsters, where you get more money, more experience, and maybe a higher chance to drop loot. But in Persona 4 Golden specifically, it allows you to choose different rewards. Not just more experience or more gold or a couple more items, but you have the option that you go, I don't want items if it comes up on the board. I don't want these personas. I want these stat upgrades for the personas. There are just so many different types of rewards that the shuffle bonus just gives you, and it's a cool way to introduce rewards to other players. However, this game does lack in every other department, and I would recommend Persona 5 Royal over Golden because of the design, the characters, and even the gameplay. I had to record the ending multiple times because it crashed several times when recording it, but I really didn't care because it was so cool to play through, and the last theme was worth playing through it again and again and again. It also puts the social simulator aspect of the game as a side thing that you can do, but it does help nevertheless. I would recommend this game if you did like Persona 5 Royal, but as a caution, don't expect this game to be a Persona 5 Royal. It's a 2008 game versus a 2016 game. I had a fun time playing through it, but it did drag out a lot more than it did in Persona 5 Royal in the middle. And it really didn't progress the story a whole bunch. It just kind of stagnated a little bit. But the biggest problem that I have is that the dungeons were really bland, and after doing the same thing even after the final dungeon, got boring towards the end due to the random nature of the dungeons themselves. With that in mind, I give this game an 8 out of 10 and a completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!
I say 8 because it's a good game. However, in this day and age, I would drop it half a point. But the game stands well even after it was made 10 years ago. If you don't really like playing games that you may have not played in the past, but you don't really want to play them now, that's okay. I do give a lot of credit to developers that want to be able to pursue these types of ports, because it means that they can bring back good games. If you like this game, I would recommend other games that are similar to this game, which is Bravely Default. Instead of having the social simulator aspect, we actually have a class system. There are a lot of aspects about the game that are similar to Persona, but not necessarily the same as Persona. Bravely Default does a whole bunch of different things that Persona doesn't necessarily do. And a lot of the time, it's a really, really cool aspect of holding your turns to be able to do a massive attack. It is weaker in terms of the story in comparison to Persona 4 Golden, but it does have a similar system to Persona 4 Golden. The next game I'm going to recommend is Tokyo Mirage Session FE. I personally haven't played this game, but it is on the high recommended list of games that are similar to Persona, so if you want, you can check it out. The last game I'm going to suggest is another Atlas game, and it's called Full Body Catherine. This game is a puzzle climber game where you are climbing the stairway of love, moving blocks and going through the game where you're trying to find out who you love the most out of the three Catherines, and all of them having different spellings in their names. Yeah, it is really confusing, that game sometimes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time when we will do a new game, and I will see you guys next time. And stay freaky!